Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. I'm Robbie.
I'm Jason.
And welcome to the table. Super excited to have you guys here for episode 50, a century of episodes. Jason, it's crazy. It's like thinking about prepping for this when you're doing the show notes. How did it feel?
It was exciting.
50.
I'm very much one who, like, at certain times I do callbacks to my thoughts and all this. I still remember the first time I kind of pitched the idea to Bards to you, and I remember us figuring out the name, right? Where you kind of led the charge to help us find out the name for it through our Patreon folks. And then I remember I was still part-time with Foundation. I was at the store grabbing like the YouTube handle and the Instagram handle and the Facebook handle. I remember texting you, I just got Facebook, just got Instagram. Okay, we're good. I got the name is good, because it doesn't matter what your name is. If you can't get the YouTube handle or Instagram handle or Facebook, even though they think on Facebook, it's not worth it. So those are the memories that come back to me, because it was the excitement of it for sure. And it was good. I mean, I feel like we've done a lot of lists, but we haven't done a lot of lists, and I love lists. I'm a Dice Tower guy all the way. The Dice Tower guy lives and dies by they don't die by it, but they are very known for their top 10 lists, as are the people with Dice Tower has a ton. And so I was excited about it. Just us texting back and forth the possibility of lists was fun, because they were all good lists. I'm like, oh, I want to do that one, and I want to do that one, and I want to do that one. So very exciting to do this, because this is, I'm talking a long time, but I'll say one more statement, and I'll throw it back to you. I like to just talk about board games, and I love all of our other episodes, but in those episodes we talk about 2 games kind of quickly and then 1 game along, and I love those discussions. But I'm going to talk about at least 10, but probably more like 15 to 16 because of honorable mentions and everything else. So getting to talk about so many games gets me very excited.
Yeah, I'm with you. A core memory that comes back to me is I remember looking through possible songs for our intro. And I remember sending you and Elizabeth like 5 options and saying, I like this one and this one, but this is probably my front runner. And I'm happy that we landed on the same page with the one we have. Like, it is, whenever I edit the podcast and get it ready to go live, I always export the video first because it takes way longer. And then when I export the audio only, it's funny because it will, when it's done on the Mac, it will just autoplay on iTunes. Okay. And so that's how I always know, oh, okay, it's time to upload that to Buzzsprout, because I will just hear the doop, 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 like ringing through the downstairs. So it's really, really fun. I enjoy it. And my favorite part of our list is I enjoy that we get to talk about so many games, but I always chuckle for seeing like, okay, how many are we going to have of duplicates? Yeah. It's like, it's a rush every time. And I think that our category today, our lists, is our last list. There was duplicates of the games and like moments thinking about the games, but there was no like sheer there was one. The top moment was like, okay. Yeah. But this category I think is just really, really fun. And I think one that people will reference in the future, because for any gamer out there, this is a struggle point that you're going to have in your board gaming life at some point. And this list you'll really lean into. So before we dive into that, Jason, what games have you been playing lately, man?
Okay, cool. Yeah, the one game I'll highlight today is a game we've already covered, but a different variation of it, right? We talked about Clank. What is the full name of Clank? Clank, a deck building adventure. It's right up here, Clank, and then there's Clank in Space. Love Clank, love deck builders. You know how it is. They announced a new version of that called Clank Catacombs, actually 3 years ago. I forget how long ago it came out, but in Clank, for those who know it, who remember the episode, you're basically playing cards to move down a single board that's always set the same way, and you're moving your meeple down. Still super cool, so exciting, but the board's always the same. Now there's a second side of the board to change up your paths and whatnot. So that's Clank. All-time great hit for a reason. We've done Clank Legacy, loved it. They announced Clank Catacombs. The difference between Clank Catacombs, the main difference is it reveals new tiles, i.e. new spaces on the board as you go. So you start with one main tile, then when you go to the edge of the tile, there's a stack of face down ones you flip over and orient the way you want. So those rooms come out in different ways, which is just so cool. So it means that no 2 games will never be exactly the same. because they're going to come out in different ways. And the first time Liz and I played, so I played it twice. Liz and I played a 2-player, and I played it with Nate and Dakota, friends of the show. And they loved it immediately because it's just so much fun. It's deck building, which is great. But the fact that you bring out the tile, it's like almost like, oh, it's the tile. Okay, this one has an artifact, so let me orient it so I can maybe get that artifact now. Or this tunnel has a monster. I don't have a sword. So you have some agency in how you're going to do those tunnels. Because the way the tiles are, there's always 2 paths on and off every single edge. Zuro has that. I don't know if we've ever played Zuro, but Zuro has, you're laying out tiles and you always have 2 spaces. So no matter what, you always have those 2 spots. But it's the adventure of turning it over every time and seeing what's going on. And then they threw in some other things on the board to kind of change it up some, different ways to get money, and different ways to choose how the artifacts come out. Artifacts aren't quite as expensive, aren't quite as high, but they come out in a dispersed way. And one of the cool changes they did to Clank is they now some of the paths in Clank had like a lock on it. So you had to go to the market to get a key. And now for the rest of the game, you have this single key that can open any path that has a lock. When this one, you start with 3 lock picks. And so if you go down a path that has a lock, use a lock pick, and that path is now open for everyone. But you're also in some of these rooms discovering treasures that you can use the lock pick to open that can do different things. You're helping prisoners escape, which give you additional abilities. You're getting major secrets, which could do good stuff for you. And there's ways to get more lock picks in the game. So it just kind of changes up that dynamic. I like that little bit of dynamic. And of course, some of the cards give you more lock picks as well. Clank Catacombs, if you like deck building, if you like Clank, I can't see, it's a great game. I can't see ever choosing to play regular Clank again. So much so that like I may see if Hand and Wheel want it. Like, or even Clank in Space. Like Clank in Space sells a little bit better than Clank. Like I will sell that and never doubt it for a second because Clank Catacombs is so good. And these games are great, but I will just never play them because I love Clank Catacombs so much.
Dude, I like it's always one thing, right, where we're hype about a game, and then because like you mentioned, Nate and Dakota, friends of the show, and even like just hearing Nate talk about it, and Nate, I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, but he was like instantly an all-timer for me, or something along the lines. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. Like, I'm so happy to hear that, and that it is so beloved. And it's great when there it is, top 3. It has to be a top 3 for me after that, is what he said. So I'm here for it. I think that's really great. And there's just like, there's variations of games. Like for us, I don't know that now that I've played the Crew Deep Sea, going back to like the regular Crew just feels like it would be fun, even if we had our same crew, but
right. Just not the
new version is just better. Like it's just been remade a little bit. So, I love that. Casting Shadows is, my game. And this is one that has some history amongst Bards itself, because the first trip that I ever made to stay at Jason's house, I brought Casting Shadows with me because I was like, Jason plays board games. We've talked about this, and I'm going to bring some because like maybe he doesn't have some of these. And every game that I brought, I'm pretty confident Jason owned, except for Casting Shadows. And he was like, oh yeah, no, we never played that one. And I kickstarted it. So I had all these different features, and I was like, yeah, I'm just not sure. And so we ended up playing a lot of classics. We didn't play Casting Shadows. And then Jason was like, dude, you should bring it the next time you come. We'll try to bust it out. So I brought it the next time, and we didn't bust it out again. And I was like, because we just had too many other great games to play. I had not played it from the time that I kickstarted. That was my first trip up there, which was 3 years ago, basically. Still hadn't touched it. And then finally, like 3 weeks ago, we played it. It got to the table. And super, super fun. So in Casting Shadows, everyone is represented by this little forest creature is probably the best way to describe it. There's a polar bear, so it's not strictly, you're represented by a little creature. Okay. And you are building a spell book. This spell book has abilities. They can either heal you, they can change your resources, or they can attack other players. And the goal of the game is to be the last creature standing. So you're just trying to get out there and hit everyone else. But what's unique about it is that there are these tiles that have bonuses, such as if you start your turn on this tile, you get one extra resource of this resource. Or if you are on this tile by yourself, you cannot take damage. Fascinating. So on your turn, you're going to get to do 4 actions, which can be moving. They can be casting a spell. They can be re-rolling your resources, a host of other things. So you choose how you want to do those 4 resources. You can do the same thing 4 times, or those 4 actions. You can do the same thing 4 times if you have the resources in order to use it. You can only cast the same spell once. So that is like a little feature. So you can't just be like, oh, this spell does 8 damage. Bang, 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 bang. Like that's not good. But if you had 4 damage spells, you could, if you have the resources, do that. What makes it really unique is at the start of your turn, you have 5 die and you're going to roll those 5 die. And on them are going to be negative things, like super powerful thing. And then there's 2 types of resources, which are orbs and gems. And those orbs and gems are either red, blue, or purple. Purple is wild cards, red or blue. So you are rolling at the start of your turn, and that is your resource pool for the turn. So you use those resources in order to buy spells or to cast spells, things of that nature. Some of the spells are more powerful, so you have to discard a lower spell to get a more powerful one. And then you can also evolve into your shadow form, which turns you from a little creature to this like super epic creature. This game made me immediately realize, Jason, that it would be dangerous in my life for me to own a really good 3D printer. Because it just was like, when we played Wonderland's War, my friend Ryan printed out these little bases that I think you had in like your Kickstarter thing that you can snap onto the bottom that make them colored. So that way when your Wonderlandians are out there, you're not like, okay, whose little gray guy is this? You're just like, all right, there's 4 purple things here. Mad Hatter is going to win that battle. Check. And this one, they have these little meeples that I got because I Kickstarted it, and they're really cute and they're really awesome. Instead of like little cardboard cutouts. Then I looked and I was like, Jason, there's like these epic plastic figurines to represent it. I could just 3D print these, bro. So it's a fun time. It was really fun. Our friend Andrew, who is undefeated at Wonderland's War, he played the game in a way that he bought these really big spells, and these really big spells, you have like 15, 20 life or something like that. And these big spells were hitting for like 8 and 12 damage. And so he would get to this big spell and hit someone once, and everyone would be like, Andrew's got to die. So the rest of us would just kill him. And he was like, oh, but it was really fun, created some really fun decisions. I would call it a middleweight game. I would not call it like, it's not the gym game, River City Glassworks. Is that?
River Valley Glassworks.
Game. Yeah. But I would not put it in the light category, but obviously it's not one that you're like, okay, we're grokking over this for 2 hours. In 2 hours, we played 2 full games, which was including the teach, which was really fun.
Very cool. Like that is one, when you put that photo out in Discord, I was like, oh, it looks beautiful. Right. It's not surprising if you look at the box. The art is really cool. And it definitely sounds like a game. Hearing that description then and the other discussion you have is like, usually I know, okay, I kind of want to try that, or it doesn't really sound interesting to me, but that definitely is like, oh, I definitely want to try that one. Even though there's die roll, right? But that's okay, because it's not the end of the game. It's not only die roll. You have some other things you can do. So I don't mind that. So you have to bring it, and maybe we'll actually finally play it up here.
Yeah, no, it's one that I could definitely see a world that like sitting around, because I also have because I have the expansions from Kickstarting it, like we could play with 6, which is a perfect player count for when we're up there. And I'd imagine at 6, there's politics involved, which is fun because you're like, all right. Like at one point I'm looking across the table and I'm like, I just want to let you know that if you swing at me, I will kill you. So I would go take care of him. And then if you take care of him, I'll finish him off. How's that sound? It was a lot of fun, and the art is beautiful. Yeah, fun and replayability is super high. So yeah, Casting Shadows. I'm pretty sure at this point you can buy it probably at like Target and all that. But today we're not just talking about those games, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are talking about a funny category. I have to give all credit to my wife because Jason and I were talking about what could we do. Jason sent a couple ideas over, and I was like, you know what? Lindsay is one of the smartest people I know, and she's just good at social media and like all of the things. I swear, if she would have been the influencer instead of me, guys, we'd live in a mansion. Because she's really gifted at it. So I asked her, I was like, Lindsay, off the top of your head, we were going to do 3 top 10 lists. Here's what we've done. What would you say? And all 3 of them that she said, I was like, all right, I'm just sending those because I'm just genuinely not going to come up with a better option. So I sent them all to Jason and said, here we go. But this one is one that as a board gamer, you're going to feel in your life. You're going to experience. Jason, do you want to tell them what today's list is?
Today's list is top 10 games you can teach your mom. Yay. Which is great. As soon as I read that, I mentioned to Elizabeth, she loved it as well. And I played a bunch of games with my mom, so it works out perfect.
Yeah. I think it's fun if we start off context wise of like mother-in-laws, that whole scenario. So for my family, my mom, raised me as a gamer. We played board games but we played the classics of Monopolies and Sorries and things like that. My mom always loved board games. My dad was not a board game player, but he loved card games. So we grew up as a very competitive Spades family because it was just me, my oldest brother at the time, and my mom and dad. And we grew up playing competitive Spades all the time. We were a trick-taking family. That is, Jason has played cards. He's played trick-taking games with both me and my brother, and it feels like it's part of our blood at this point. Yeah, so for sure. That is my mom. And then my mother-in-law is certainly one that wants to be where the people are. Like, she wants the whole family to gather. And if the whole family's going to gather, if a board game is what brings the people together, that's going to be awesome. But she's certainly going to walk in with a lot of hesitation because I think, like most people, she doesn't want to look dumb while she's sitting at the table. And so when you put something beyond the Monopolies and Sorries of the world out there, it can get really intimidating. And so I think that she shuts that conversation down a lot before it even begins out of a true fear of not looking foolish. So I have to walk in very hesitantly with her, but I've gotten several of the games that are on my list. I've gotten to the table with her. And that's the whole reason they're on my list. So that's my situation. How about you, Jason?
What's funny is, I never really, and there's a reason why you're the color guy and I'm the play-by-play guy, right? Because I have the more board game experience, but you're definitely the color guy, and it just helps me so much because it helps make sure I'm thinking through stuff. Because I didn't think I thought too myopically focused on my mom and how I've taught her games, right? But everything you said is so true because different people come with different worries, fears, baggage, expectations. And the most common ones, I don't want to feel dumb or get embarrassed because you know games and I don't, and I'm going to look stupid, right? But I think all of my games match that, especially if they're surrounded by loving people, right? Who aren't going to be mean to them. And that's always going to be, and like you said, it's not just moms. Moms are fun because we can easily talk about that. In a way, you can extrapolate it to this is what you could teach totally non-gamers or gamers who are worried about stuff. It's almost, if we call the list 10 games to teach to non-gamers, it could be this as well, right? But the mom is more fun because this may give you a chance to teach your mom or your dad or your aunt or your uncle or your niece or your cousin, for sure. So it's helping them kind of offset or take away that barrier. And it's like, I know 22-year-olds or 24-year-olds who have that same intimidation about playing any game, because they don't want to feel, they're worried about feel embarrassed. But then without doubt, some of these on my list, if they sat and played it with their friends, they're going to have a blast with it for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add one more thing, and this is an aside. You're talking about Lindsay, for sure. Lindsay is a rock star. We both married rock stars, and we're just average dudes. I've said this my entire Air Force career. If Elizabeth, same thing you said, basically. If Elizabeth was in the Air Force, we would still be in because she'd be a general, I'm not kidding. I know this is not marriage goggles who's biased. I know my wife, and she would have made at least colonel. Like, I retired as a lieutenant colonel. Very blessed. God, thank you for giving me 24 years. We'd probably still be in, and she'd be a full bird colonel or maybe a 1-star or 2-star, on her way to stars, because that's who she is. She's rock star, hard worker, all those things. I mean, you know her story here between Liberty and everything. She's moved up just through God's grace, but her hard work. So we are both blessed to, they like to say, we outkicked our coverage, and we're happy to do it. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I will, the final context I want to give my mother-in-law, because I'm going to talk about her a lot. Her name is Debbie. She is a lovely, lovely lady. I'm so grateful that, she is my mother-in-law. And she is a massive Mahjong player now. She is all in on the Mahjong craze. She got apps on her phone, and she's playing like you just know when we're all sitting around the house at night, and Leo's in bed and all of that. I look over and she's got her reading glasses on and she's got her phone turned sideways. And I'm like, how's it going? How many times have you pivoted? And she's like, oh, Robbie, I'm on my second pivot right now. And I'm like, all right, awesome. Get it, girl. Do it, lady. So she rock star. So there is this thing. If I were to, Jason nailed it, like top 10 games for non-gamers, I would even say top 10 games for hesitant gamers is where I kind of took my list. And I've got reasons why I sort of landed on them. And I think you'll probably see that theme carry through, because to me, if you're trying to bring games like this, and maybe we don't list the games that you're thinking of, please put them in the comments down below. But also, like, give us your reasoning for them. And you can use some of the reasoning that we're going to give on why these games are on this list to kind of extrapolate to yours. Just because you love the game and you have a good time playing it does not mean that other people will, especially if they're hesitant. So Jason, you want to start us off? Fire away with your number 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, I'm going to do, I think we'll do honorable mentions first rather than do honorable mentions last, right? Because I'd rather do honorable mentions first. That way we save the best for last. And like these are, but also kind of like it's a mini spoiler. Just to let us know, hey, you may have heard us talk about these games in previous episodes. But so I'm going to do honorable mention first and then do your honorable mention. Then we'll come back to the numbers. Are we good with that, Robbie?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. So cool. We talked about, I have a bunch. I have 6 honorable mentions list. I'll go through them really fast, right? So the first one is, the caveat is, if you come from a trick-taking family, you already mentioned the game. Like if your family, because a lot of people will be trick takers, but never really played traditional board games. The crew is all the way. So it's an honorable mention for me because I haven't played with any folks like that. My mom or any other families don't have that. I learned trick taking from my church youth group, not my parents. But the crew is a great one because if they know trick taking, they can play the crew. Explain some of the nuances, but they can play the crew. Wits and Wagers, basically a trivia game that's not really a trivia game. Love Wits and Wagers. It goes so well. Splendor. We've talked about Splendor before. I've played Splendor with my mom. So far, 2 of these 3 games, actually every game I list except 1, I played with my mom. Splendor, it actually is probably one of the most crunchier games because it can be crunchy for non-gamers, but the play of it is pretty quick and easy. And it's the poker chips in the game, the art in the game we talked about in the episode. It's a very welcoming game because you get to fiddly play with these things and see this really cool artwork. Blank Slates, another super light party game that's just you're filling in a single word, right? And that's all you're doing. And it's like base, spank, or blank. You could be baseball or base runner or whatever, or sun blank. And so that's an easy one that anybody can play, but I played with my mom and lots of folks. I think she even won that one. And then Flip 7, the game that you just got, it's just a push your luck game. Super light, push your luck game. You either take a card, and if you get a card you already have, you bust. If not, it moves on. And literally that's all you're doing the entire game is flipping over a card. But are you willing to, it's that group mentality of it. So those are all my honorable mention, and they could have easily been on this list because there are games on this list that kind of match what's there other than the crew. And I'll kind of talk about that when
I tried to, there are certainly games that I have on my list that, we've talked about before. But what I tried to do was some of the games we've talked about and we have episodes on. And so I was like, I'm going to put those on my honorable mentions list to try to highlight, some of these a little more. So a couple of them, Splendor was also on my honorable mentions list. I think it's really fun, and worst case scenario, like Jason said, they're collecting just a bunch of chips. Quacks, I think, is one that, like, the best thing you have to do if you're playing Quacks with your mom is just sit next to her and help her pull the chips out of her bag and sort of guide her along in the process. Because she's not going to get, usually, that is the biggest thing I see with new players in Quacks, is that they don't do as well as they think they actually did because they're not spacing the chips out correctly in the pot. That's not just moms. That's like every new player. So, and if you just sit next to them and you pull a couple chips and move through your bag quickly because it's simultaneous play, it's gonna be a great time. So had that one on there. Exploding Kittens is one that is, I think, like, I know for my middle brother Jake, his in-laws, it's a family affair for them. They love it. It is that the little box opens and makes some music. So Exploding Kittens, one that is certainly popular. Very popular. And then I have Ticket to Ride on there, but I really would put the big three as you can teach the big three, quite often. So, and then the only other one I have is New York Zoo. And spoiler alert, it's because I have another Polyomino game on my list.
Yeah.
And I like New York Zoo, and I would have had it on there as well. But we have an episode on New York Zoo. New York Zoo is phenomenal. Polyomino, your placing, like I said, there's a whole episode. You can check it out if you want to know our thoughts on New York Zoo. But those are my honorable mentions.
Cool. Oh, those are all good ones for sure. Fun fact, I've probably said this on the podcast before, but I've never played Exploding Kittens in my life. So just because I'm not going to buy it because I'm a snobby gamer. I have no reason to buy it. I've never been around anybody playing it. I almost bought Exploding Minions one year because it was like on some crazy discount. It was supposed to be the same game, but it's Minions. I didn't get it because I was very snobby at the time. So, but it's a runaway worldwide mega hit for a reason. Millions of customers aren't wrong about it being a good game to play.
So true.
All right. So let's jump into it. I will say this. And I said this beforehand. I can't word it. I'm trying to find a clear way to word it. My 10 through 1 could be almost rearranged in any way. Like for me personally, in this time, the number 1 isn't like the absolutely best game to teach my mom. It's just one that I enjoyed maybe. And there may be different reasons why there are different ones, so I could swap them back and forth. So it's more like it's 10 and I had to do lower to higher. And it's maybe probably, if I look at it really, it's probably if I had to rate these games from my enjoyment of the game and playing it with my mom, this is probably the way it would go. Does that make sense? So like the number 1 is probably the most one I've enjoyed. And then the lowest one of those would be the lower of those 10. My first one is, and the other dangerous thing, we were texting about this, not dangerous. The other challenge was because so many party games are easy to teach, right? They're the reason why they're easy to teach everybody. So almost every party game I own could be on this list, but I did specifically try to avoid doing that. Because they inherent by the nature of their game, they're easy to teach for other folks. And so it could be that way. However, my number 10 is a party game, and it's Just One. Just One is a game we've talked about many times. It's too light to actually do a full episode because it's such a light game, but it's such a good game because people are like, oh, what's going on there? I was like, oh, just sit down and play. And like after that first time they've gone through, like, oh, this is great. I just literally write a word and it's a clue and that's all it. And they're not first, they can see everybody else guess. So by the time it comes to them, they're not intimidated by guessing those things. Just One, there's a reminder for what Just One is. It's a clue giving game, which you're trying to guess the word. And there's a card with 5 words on it that the active player can't see. They choose a number. Everyone else sees a number. So maybe it's chocolate. So now everybody on a little board in front of them writes down a single word, just one word as a clue. Somebody may write Hershey. Somebody may write dark. Somebody may write, caramel or whatever, however you want to get people to guess the word chocolate, candy, bar. And then the active player closes their eyes. Everyone else shows their words to each other. And if anybody has multiple of the same, those clues basically get erased and no one gets to see them. So your goal is to give a clue of a single word that's different from everyone else, but that person could possibly guess. Just One's always a fun hit, but it's just so easy to play because in the entire game, you're only writing a single word. And the more you go, the more fun it is. It's just laughing because you laugh at like, oh, we wrote the same thing. Oh, what is that word? Why did you write justification for football? I don't understand. Whatever. Right. So I have played Just One with Mom for sure. It's not in BG stats because I don't ever play for scoring. We play just for fun of it, but it is a hit every time, just about anybody, but sit down, write a single word, do a clue. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It is. I love just one. In fact, the last trip that we went on with my wife's family, when we got to the lake house, my mother-in-law was like, "Did you bring just one? I want to play." So very, very fun. And I will say, just one, especially when we're around loved ones, creates more inside jokes than a lot of board games.
Yes.
Like we still make fun of my sister-in-law because the word she had was fair, and Lindsay's grandpa wrote worlds as his clue. And so World's Fair, there we go. And we were like, yeah, World's Fair. And she was like, I have no idea what the World's Fair is. And
what?
Like, Abby, you're literally a doctor. Like you have a doctorate in physical therapy. What are we doing right now? And so we just chuckle, right? Like, that's so funny. It's where you just walk up and you're like, oh, hey, Abby, did you hear about the World's Fair this year? So it's a good time. My number 10 is the first game that I ever introduced my mother-in-law to, and it is probably, other than Mahjong at this point, probably her favorite game, and it is Monopoly Deal. So the reason I pull it out, it's the only one that I have on my list that is like classic game IP touching, and Monopoly Deal, for those of you who are unaware, takes all of the bad things of Monopoly and gets rid of them. It takes away the length of Monopoly. It takes away the tediousness of it, the board setup. It's a card game, Monopoly Deal, and you're playing these cards out. You take 2 actions on your turn. You're playing cards out of your hand it's the first person to assemble 3 complete sets of properties. So it's fast paced. There's like some form of strategy to it, but you kind of pick that up as you go. But you're just playing cards and drawing cards, playing cards and drawing cards. So there is a lot of simplicity to it, but creates a really fun environment, and you get some of that nostalgic hit of Monopoly. I know lots of people who are Monopoly lovers who enjoy Monopoly Deal, and I know lots of Monopoly haters who love Monopoly Deal. It's a pretty classic go-to. Jason, have you ever had Monopoly Deal at the table?
A long time ago, because we had friends, because we were in Germany, and we weren't as deep in the hobby, but we were well into the hobby, and they knew we were board gamers, so they're like, "Oh, let's play Monopoly Deal." And it was like, I understand why it's a fun game. It's definitely a better version of Monopoly. I don't want to play Monopoly Deal. They took a lot of the good things about it and made it a quicker game that's a lot of fun. So much so that we even got the Monopoly Deal app at the time, and we're playing it a bunch on the app just for the fun of it, just to have the games.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a winner. It's one of those probably once a year, because I love my mother-in-law. We will agree to play Monopoly Deal. Because when she learned it, she was like, this is my game. This is what we do. So my number 9 is actually it's so funny, that it actually has already been mentioned on this podcast before. And Jason was like, I don't think we played this game together. It's Tsuro. Which is Tsuro, Tsuro. This is one that I had introduced via a board game a board game series that used to exist called Tabletop with Will Wheaton. And in Tsuro, you're all piloting. Really, it's this ship is moving around the sea. And what you're trying to do is you are moving the ship by placing tiles down on the board. And every time you connect a tile, what's going to happen is the ship is going to move and follow the path until it reaches the end of the tile. And the goal is to not send the ship off the edge of the world, off the edge of the map. And so there will be these winding twists that all occur because every tile that you place has a bunch of paths on it. And so sometimes you end up in these loops that you come off of this tile and then you end up looping back around and you end up on the same tile that you started on, but you're going the opposite direction at this time. Crazy fun. It is very straightforward. And at the end of the day, it's a very quick game, which is very fun because you can just go over and over again. And you also have this beautiful fun time there's a lot of laughter. I feel like that usually comes with Tsuro, because you're placing these tiles and it's just you end up, sometimes you'll place a tile and they will ride this really long trail. And then it's no, I'm clear. Oh no, I'm not clear. And then you just rocket off the edge of the world. I always go to when Brody Smith played Suro. I didn't realize Suro could be that loud, but hey, it happens. He shows me new things every day. But yeah, Suro.
Yeah.
So that's hilarious that I was like, I've not talked about this game. I don't know that I've ever talked about this game with Jason before. But
that's funny. And as soon as you said, I'm like, that really should have been on my honorable mention for that same reason, because it's such an easy game to play. It's not really crunchy, but it's fun because it's puzzly. And most people are okay with puzzly stuff, especially as they see it going, because you start on the edge of the board, so you're not too worried early, and you're just putting a spot out and putting a spot out. That's great. Like I brought it, I think, when for Imposter, we played it on the main game night in Imposter, but just at the table I was doing, I think. And then, like you said, I just realized, oh yeah, we played it. Brody played it and won it during a Hydro Club Championship or something. I don't know what it was for. Yeah, it was during Hydro Club Championship that Brody won it, and it was wild. That's a funny thing. So Zero's a great one for sure. Zero's a game that probably never leave my collection. That's another top 10 list we'll do. Games that will never leave our collection for whatever reason, right? Like, it doesn't actually have to be a game you play all the time, but games that never leave my collection because it's so easy for young kids to play, so easy for everybody to play. We've played it a ton. Like, my game is worn out. The little cardboard tiles you hold are just worn out because we've played it so many times because it plays so quickly and easily. So great choice, Robbie. Great choice. All right. My number 9, I just realized, like, of mine, this is one of those we've covered in multiple episodes, the ones I'm doing. So, hey, we're going to get a refresh on those. And if you haven't listened to these episodes, go back. My only polyomino game I'm going to talk about, Patchwork. So Patchwork is because it's a lighter polyomino game. Patchwork is my number 9. I haven't played this with my mom, but I think I've thought about it before, but I've taught it a few times. And for those who remember, Patchwork is basically you're getting polyomino tiles to place on your board and to fill up the board. That's basically what it is. You have the same size board each player does, and it just has a very unique selection system in that all the tiles are laid out in a circle, and there's a starting piece, and you can only take one of the next 3 polyomino shaped tile, Tetris shaped tile, and then put on your board. And the scoring comes in with how there's buttons on there and there's a clock on there. So how you move on the scoring track and get more resources or buttons is the economy of the game, trying to place those tiles out in such a way to do that. But it's such a light game that it just teaches you to work through the polyomino nature without the challenge of New York Zoo, which I love New York Zoo, or the super challenge of Planet Unknown, which I absolutely love Planet Unknown. It's a light introduction to that polyomino world, Patchwork. So it is beautiful too. There's so many different patchworks. Ours is the Christmas one, but the basic Patchwork just looks like a quilt. There's Patchwork Halloween. There's Patchwork, Valentine's Day, and there's at least one other Patchwork, all the exact same game. I have the Christmas one because I like the way it looks with the presents.
Yeah, it's great, and it not only made its own episode, it also made our 2-player lists. I think it was on both of our 2-player lists.
Yep, for sure. It's such a it's one of those that I have so many games. I don't pull it out a lot, but it's easy to come out and play real quick and easy, and play a couple times in a row because the game goes so fast. That was my number 9, Patchwork. All right, my number 8 is my last. Okay, not quite my last. It may not be my last true party game. Spoiler. But another game that's a hit that I pull out every time I'm ever in a group, every single time now, is Green Team Wins. Green Team Wins, 15-round game in that you're going to ask 15 questions, 5 different types of questions, and you score based on being part of the majority of that answer. There's 5 questions that are multiple choice. You choose one of the 3. There's 5 questions that are this or that, like hot in the winter or cold in the summer, or something like that. And you just, there's no really right or wrong answer, but you're trying to read the table. Like, I know I really like being hot in the winter, but I know everybody else at this table wants to be cold in the summer. So I'm going to go with cold in the summer. And then the last one is similar to blank slate, and then it's just going to be a single word in a line and a blank. And you have to write that other word, and you're hoping to have the majority on there. And Green Team Wins. The gameplay, super easy. Especially 2 of those 3 things are just choosing one or the other, right? And they're fun, and they're funny, and they're engaging. In the same way, similar to Just One, when you're with the right group of folks, you're just laughing at each other. You're like, what? You like chocolate ice cream. Why did you say mint? I know I've seen you eat chocolate ice cream. Why are you doing that? And so Green Team Wins, the easy one. I'm not kidding. Everything that if I know it's going to be a board game night at the warehouse or with our crew, it's always going to be a lot of people. So I bring Green Team Wins. I put 2 games together. I bring both games, and that way you can play up to 12 or more people. I played Green Team Wins so many times now. I never score Green Team Wins, even though there's a scoring on it. Never score it because I play it for fun, even though I'm trying to win. So it can't go wrong with Green Team Wins.
No, I fully agree. There is a crew that I've been to multiple birthday parties now for this. Like I basically only interact with the larger part of this crew at either of my neighbors' birthday parties, whether it's Ryan or Abby's birthday party, but that's when I know I'm going to see the larger crew. And the easiest way to start a fight is to talk about which part of the s'more is doing the most work. Is it the marshmallow, the graham cracker, or the chocolate? Because that's a Green Team Wins card. And you got to vote which one you think it is. So, phenomenal.
It's obviously
choice.
the marshmallow. I mean, come on. It's actually the graham cracker just trying to hold it all together, right?
And
the
that's what
chocolate's
people
really
argue
trying
is
to
they're
bind
like,
it. So
you say what's making the most work? If you don't have a graham cracker, you got marshmallow and chocolate just flowing everywhere. And then it's like, but if I don't have a marshmallow, then I'm just eating hot chocolate. That's gross. So
that's
it's
great.
Wild, but great. That's right there, ladies and gentlemen. You can experience that with your mother, and anyone else of the family. It is a great time. My number 8 is another one we did early on. I think it's our 2nd episode, maybe 3rd, Sushi Go Party. This is one that is, I say Sushi Go Party because Sushi Go itself, completely good. You could do just Sushi Go. It would work just fine in this spot. The reason I go with Sushi Go Party is because you can adapt the menu. So as you guys play through, you can go with a very beginner friendly menu and build it. Sushi Go Party is a set collection game where you take one and pass it. So there's going to be a hand. You're going to take one card out of it to play for your board, and then you pass your hand off. Think of it as you're at an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant, and the dishes are moving around. And what do you decide to take off the conveyor belt when it gets to you? That is the whole idea of it. And so you're building your plate for 3 rounds, trying to score the most points. One of the biggest reasons that cognitive load is something that I think is so important when we're talking about all of the games in this category. You do not want to overwhelm the person you're playing with, because if they sit down and they just see this really elaborate looking board, it can be so overwhelming to start. And you'll see it as a theme through several of the games I have coming, which is I'm okay if the board gets elaborate, but we have to build to the elaborate board. That is the biggest thing in terms of like Ticket to Ride. The board starts out for the traditional version. It's America. Like it's just a map with a bunch of lines and spaces on it, but there's nothing. It's just blank. So you get to experience as the trains start filling up and tracks start going down, things like that. They can be a part of it and build the experience together. But Sushi Go Party, the reason the cognitive load is so beautiful is because the instruction for every single card is on the card. So it may take your mom several minutes to pass her hand every time. So if everyone's patient and they're just having a good time, it can be a really nice, like, if Jason and I are playing with a newer player, Jason and I can just have a whole long conversation because we both know we're going to see the hand, we're going to pull a card out, we're going to place it, and I'm going to pass it down. And then I can just get right back to the same conversation with Jason while they're taking their time to learn. And you can take the pressure off of the people by doing that. Like I said, you can build a simple menu to start and sort of get more complicated as you go from there. That's Sushi Go Party is my number 8. Any thoughts, or you want me to go to 7, Jason?
No, I agree. That's a good one for sure. It's one that, we talked about it, and I couldn't even tell you last time I played Sushi Go Party, mostly because I forget it's over there. Like everything about it is good because you can modify those menus to match the right audience or to try to make an easier game or a more focused game and help drive them for that. So that's a good selection for sure.
Yeah. So my number 7 is a game that Jason told me about. I knew I was going to love. We went to Target the next day and we bought it, and it's Hitster. Hitster, Hitster. This is a music-based game, and you don't even have to have Spotify Premium. I will tell you that it makes the game more enjoyable if you have Spotify Premium, but if you don't, that's fine. You're just going to get some ads along the way. So there's an app, and each card has a QR code on the back. So you scan the QR code, and it's going to open up Spotify on your phone, and it's going to play in this sort of disguised app. So it's playing the music through Spotify, but you can't see what the song is. People are going to know the songs because they're very, very popular songs. And even if they're not popular songs, like they're famous songs. So it may not feel popular to you, but there's a lot of moments that are very generational because the songs range from like the 1920s all the way up to, I want to say it's like 2022, 2023. Like there are current songs in this. And the way the game works at its simple level is that you're going to scan the card and you're going to have a card start out in front of you. And that card is going to have the band, the song title, and the year that it was released. And when you are listening to the song, you have to decide, did this song come out before or after the card that I have in front of me? And you're going to start building a timeline. And if you guess correctly where the song belongs in your timeline, you get to keep the card. The first person to get to 7, they win. So it's very straightforward. Two things that I love most about this game are that it is super modifiable because you can play. There's like actual rules that come with it for steals and things like that. For us, it is we're winding down. The kids are in bed. Let's just listen to some music and laugh and sing along. And it turns into karaoke night more often than anything for us. I've played it with multiple families. I've not played this game yet with a different group of people and not see it be, for lack of a better word, a hit. Yeah. So very, very fun. And like I said, lots of people get intimidated because they're like, I don't know music. I promise you, you know more than you think you do quite often. And the game can be really forgiving at times, which is really great. And then you can modify it to like, can you name the artist? If you can name the artist, then you're going to get a point. Can you name the song? You're going to get a point. And it's first person to do it that way. So it's just a really fun, if you like music trivia at all, this game is amazing. And if you don't, it's also completely fine. Like you're going to have a good time and just being able to chill out and listen to some music. So that's my number 7 is Hitster.
Yeah, I love, you're right. From the first time I tried it and saw it, I was like, oh, I'm going to love this game. I've loved it. But it works best at larger groups, right? You need 5 or 6 to really enjoy it because I think you got to have at least 3 or 4. 4 is even a little light. 5, 6, 7, because you're all kind of embracing it. You all start singing the song, or you're like, I have no clue what this song is. Like between when we played it, again, during Imposter, or when I play it, because even my kids will know from reels and TikToks and whatnot, songs that I have no clue. Like, the only reason I even know this song is because it's a common reel thing. And I'm not kidding. I watch reels, but I always have them muted. I don't listen to anything. So this is a side note. I sent one to Elizabeth the other day. That was a funny marriage one, but I realized, there were sound effects. Okay. That didn't really mean that at all. And it's not like dirty sound effects. It was, but it was like, that's not what cause I don't listen to any.
That's funny.
That's showing a little, I try to stay relatively relevant with life, but I don't listen to reels. So I'm missing a whole world of songs. But like that's how Elizabeth will know some of those songs. Now, just because they know it on reel doesn't mean it's a newer one, but I agree. I will say Robbie is right that if you don't like music or don't know music, it may not be the game for you. Totally. But if you, like my mom, this is not the game I'd ever play with my mom. Not that she dislikes music, but like she listens to Southern gospel music and maybe a little country. And that's it. Like she won't know anything else. And now she would still have fun laughing with us, because that's the way my mom is, and she wants to be with us and playing it. But she would, in the hindsight, she'd be like, that game was stupid. I don't want to do it again. Right. But if you just kind of like music, it is amazing. So much fun. I don't have Spotify Premium. It does make the game better to have Spotify Premium for sure. But you can go without it because we still play it all the time without Spotify. So Hitster, it's a great choice. My number 7 is a game we've played together. And it's another light game, not one we've covered, because again, it's another light game, but it's one that it's just the cards tell you what to do, and that's the scoring goal, and that's Point Salad. So Point Salad is a game in which, and I've actually shown this to many people because it's a good game for families. Like show it to Brad and Kimberly and played it with them and their boys, and they loved it because it's such a good game for younger folks, such a good game for intimidating. And Point Salad, it's a set collection game in which you're going to have 3 face down decks and then 3 rows of 2 cards. The face of the card has like lettuce or tomato or carrot or corn or onion or cabbage, whatever they are. Now the back of the cards are your scoring goals. That's the entire game. So if you can take a single scoring goal that's face down, off the deck that's face down, or 2 of the vegetables that are out there to come up. And real time during the game, your scoring goals may change because you may be like, oh, for every lettuce and tomato I have, I get 2 points. But another one comes out and says, oh, every tomato I have is now negative 2 points. So you have to kind of balance that. But the gameplay is just, it's quick, it's easy. Okay, I'm going to take this and go, and take this and take this and go. It's very cute artwork. It's a light game. It's like 10, 12 minutes. That anybody can play. I have played, again, this is one I have played with my mom because it was just fun. And it lets her be involved in that thing that we're all doing. And it plays at 6 people. So she can play with the entire family and still enjoy it as well. That's another bonus about games you can teach your mom. If it's a game that more people can play, like Hitster, like Sushi Go Party. Yeah. It helps bring more people in because it'd be less intimidating when they're surrounded by 5 or 6 people as opposed to something like Patchwork, which is 2 people, right? Non-gamer altogether may not like Patchwork, but somebody who's kind of open to it, it's a little bit different. So Point Salad is my number 7. Do you remember playing Point Salad, Robbie?
For sure. I definitely, I had it on my, like, it was just off of my honorables, because I think it's really fun. I definitely think it is one that is you have in your collection, and it's not going to hit the table once but every few years. But when you do, you're just going to be reminded of, this game's amazing. This is so fun.
Yeah. It's a good light game if you're doing game night. If you want just a super light, fluffy game for your gamers, just open the night or even close the night, just a super light game. You can kind of chat, you can kind of talk as you go. Point Salad is that. All right. So my number 6. Okay. Full disclosure, this is a cheat. This is a total cheat. I want to say 2 games for my number 6 because they're in a way the exact same game, but not quite. And my number 6 is my only cooperative game. My only cooperative games is Horrified / Pandemic. So I say it because Pandemic, the theme of Pandemic is trying to save the world and not die of disease, right? So, but the theme of Horrified is, hey, I don't want these monsters to kill me either. So, but they're both so good, especially if you play Pandemic open-handed, face-up cards. You truly are working together. And cooperative games, even though I'm not a big cooperative game player, so that's why you won't hear me talk too much about cooperative games, but those are great games to teach those hesitant players, to teach folks like your mom and your dad, because you're all going through this adventure together as opposed to I have to make a decision by myself and I'm nervous. So we've done an episode on Horrified. Pandemic, same way we've done an episode on Pandemic. The gist of each of these games is you're cooperative playing cards and taking actions to basically beat the game. In Horrified, you're trying to, each of the monsters you play have specific actions you need to do. So you're moving your character around the board, picking up pieces to now go do something else and take an action on there. And you have a few different actions you can take, and you can take the same action multiple times. You can take different actions, and every player has an asymmetric power, and then it gives them a special ability to do. Horrified, for sure, I'd have to say, I mean, I don't get to play Marvel United a lot. It may be my favorite cooperative game, Marvel United, the United World, especially because DC United is coming. I'm so excited about DC United. But Horrified is probably my favorite cooperative game, hands down, because it's so fun and it's so engaging because you can't really quarterback it because you really have to work together. But you're also doing these small kind of puzzles as you go throughout the board and working through the math. And then Pandemic, the same way. You have a character who has an asymmetric power, and you're playing cards to move around the board, treat different diseases, create buildings, and try to cure the things, right? Oversimplifying those things, but when you're holding those cards face up and you're all talking collectively with what it is, you work through that challenge as a group. Both Horrified and Pandemic are great ones to do that. I've actually played Pandemic with my mom years ago. I haven't done Horrified. But it was a great time for sure. So that is my number 6.
Yeah, Horrified is up there. I really thought about Marvel United, because I agree. Every time it's gotten to the table, it's a blast. And I think the hard part is that I think that you and I both really love Marvel United because of the superhero like vibe. Like you said, DC United, you're going to love even more. Like it's definitely going to hit the table more often. Horrified is funny because the theme, it's like, I feel like especially for teaching your mom, she's going to be able to get into that theme because of the older monsters and vibes and the Bride of Frankenstein and things like that. Like the theme itself is going to let her resonate. And because you're working together, cooperatives are really good. I do have a cooperative game on my list, but it's coming up a little later. My number 6 my number 6 and my number 4, I'm going to go ahead and say they're the crunchiest games on my list by far. But I've chosen them specifically. So my number 6 is actually, and guys, you're going to want to watch Jason's eyes in this moment because he might just judge me heavily for this, is Everdell.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that is way crunchier than any game I have. So
yeah, so
I am shocked. Color me shocked. So.
Yeah. So here's my reasoning. I thought about this one a lot, and I almost pulled it off the list. But I thought, okay, if I wanted to show my mom the vibe of games that, like, when I say, hey, I had friends over to the house and we played Wonderland's War for 2 hours, I'm never going to show her Wonderland's War because it's just it's just too much. That cognitive load too much. And when you think about Everdell, it is, of all of the games on my list, it is easily the highest cognitive load upon looking at it. There's this huge tree. There's a bunch of different resources that are out there. There are a bunch of different cards that are out there. But at the end of the day, I'm just placing some pieces out there, gathering some resources, and I'm collecting cards. And I'm collecting cards to do things. But the art on Everdell and the production of Everdell is so pretty that I can help sort of side coach someone through the game. And Everdell isn't, I wouldn't say, a pure engine builder, but there are certainly comboing pieces that you're doing,
right?
That I think if I was trying to show them something, I could show them, hey, this is the closest I can get you to tasting like a very crunchy game with beautiful art and beautiful production without sending you off to Neverland or like sending you off, to wherever to say, ready, get lost in this. Like, I was looking up some lists on this for some inspiration as well, and I laughably saw that someone put Dinosaur Island on a list they would teach because they're like, it's Jurassic Park, so people will love it. And I was like, what are we talking about, dude? So so that's Everdell, my number 6. Like I said, I know it's crunchy. You're gonna have to walk in ready to explain. But I really do think that the art and the cuteness of it all would help push them over the I just can't do this.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely plenty of those. One of my games is a good description on that when I get to it, is that there's something about the board, how it looks, the art on it, and just the gameplay for sure. And the theme, without doubt, you may have a family member who's a hardcore Star Wars fan, right? They may not play board games at all, but because of their OG, they may be Star Wars fans, or they may be Marvel fans, or pick anything. They may be, bird fans, Wingspan. I mean, I'm not being sarcastic with that. Like, if you have someone who's a hardcore birder or just loves birds in general, especially if they're a birder themselves, Wingspan is literally that perfect game, even though it's heavy, because they get to go see these fun things. It's you go in, like Robbie said, you go in knowing you're going to have to help them, and you got to know the player to know they're not going to get frustrated or angry or whatnot at it, and or walk away with a bad experience. But with that right player who has the right theme, without doubt. And Everdell it's just cute, right? It's just colorful. It's cute. It's a worker placement tableau builder more than it is like an engine builder, but there's combos. They're kind of like engine building, but it's more tableau building. So there's a lot of fun things you can do. And the base game has the fun squishy fruits and all this stuff. So all the tactile nature of that, the tree, the artwork, I definitely an option to do that.
Yeah. Like if I were sitting down, it would take a lot of relational capital to get this to the table with my mother-in-law. And I would know that, hey, like, we're not tackling this starting at 8 p.m. This is like hey, Leo's going down for his afternoon nap. Let's play a game this afternoon. Let's play it during the day and have a good time with it. And know that like it would mean a lot to me if you'd be willing to give this a try. Type of a deal is how I would sell it. Once again, beautiful production, really, really great. Every time that I pass it at Target, I'm like, Gosh, that game is so good. Like, it's just a really fun game. So my number 5 is one that Jason and I actually played together. And back when the board game room was in the basement.
Okay.
And it is Cartographers.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, Cartographers is Polyomino game. And it stayed on the list over New York Zoo because we haven't done an episode on it. And Cartographers, when we say Polyomino, this is like Tetris type pieces. One of the reasons that I thought, okay, I think that this would go really well is because most of our parents were in they knew of Tetris, whether they played it or not. It was like, we're knowledgeable of what happens, right?
Yep.
As it comes around. So what's beautiful to me about Polyomino games where you have these pieces and Cartographers, there are scoring goals that are going to be different every single time. And those scoring goals carry over 4 rounds. So for them, if they want to play the game to maximize their score, you have to pay attention to the scoring goals. And gamers are going to be able to maximize those scoring goals. But the best part about Polyomino games is this really cool feeling you get of not wasting spaces as if you're playing Tetris live on the board.
Right.
And so in Cartographers, you're going to get these shapes that you have to fill your board with, but you're coloring them in on your sheet of paper. So I'm not handing you a board. There's not a bunch of different pieces. You're getting a sheet of paper with a grid on it, and we're working from there. So I think it does the job of Polyomino really well, has a lot of replayability just because you're not like how the pieces come out. It's never going to be the same. And once again, a very casual, if your brain works in Polyomino, you can, okay, I'm going to put this here. Blah, 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 okay. And then I color it in and then I'm back to having my conversation, and it's very light while we're letting people think about how they want to do their turn. So, that's my number 5 is Cartographers.
Great choice. I love Cartographers. I never pull it out because I get plenty of my fill of playing it because the app is great. Like, just the solo app is amazing and so much quicker. And Board Game Arena as well. I played a ton on Board Game Arena. So it's a little bit of an effort to pull out. Not hard, but it's an effort to kind of explain it. But the good thing is the gameplay actually is easy because there's no restrictions. You just, as long as you're putting your polyomino pieces within that shape, you're done. Draw it out there and that's it. And then, okay, you got to pass when the monsters come out. Now, the gameplay is super simple, so easy. Trying to score well and all that, you got to gamify it and figure that out. But it's a game. Maybe there's a list. Maybe there's a list of top 10 games I wish I pulled off the shelf more. And that's one because I love Cartographers. They did a Kickstarter a few years ago to add just more maps. I've never played any of those additional maps, and I've had them for years. It's so sad. I even laminated them all. Like I bought a laminating machine years ago just to laminate flipping rights and roller rights where you're writing that stuff on there. Cartographers are a great one, and it just falls out of my mind so much when I have people over. So now that I'm kind of having this have a game night going every few weeks. Marissa and Dakota came over a couple weeks ago. They're probably come over here and there. Some of Elizabeth's coworkers who, ironically, it's funny because Dakota and Marissa live in an apartment complex, and one of Elizabeth's friends, Ananda, her husband Hunter, live in the exact same complex. And so through Elizabeth, they kind of got to know each other better. So now they're friends. But then Ananda, Marissa, and Elizabeth all take dance at the same place. They're all at the dance studio tonight and dance. So that's great. So it's just,
come on,
it's kind of crazy. So, but it's Cartographers will definitely be one I start bringing out with them. What is good too is that reminds me, and I didn't put one on my list, but flip and write / roll and write games are great ones to teach because in those games, you're going to flip a card and everybody takes that action. So if you're helping your significant other, your parent through that, you can do yours and you can, okay, you understand what you're doing there and kind of help guide them, help teach them through that almost in a cooperative way. Whereas some of the other games, even some of the lighter games, they have to kind of make their own decisions solo. Where in that one, you literally can sit right by you, like you said, for Everdale, but a little bit lighter. And you flip, everybody does the same thing. Okay, you're good. Everybody, okay, now. And you go from there. And you don't have this intimidation of everybody trying to get through, and now we're waiting on one person. So I'm a massive flip and write and roll and write fan. I have a ton of them. I could just have a whole night of just doing those because there's so many other ones. One of my all-time favorite games is a super light one called Metro X that is so insanely basic, but it's just my favorite game because it's puzzly. And every time I play it, I want to get everything on the board and I want to score my best and the randomness of the card. So I acknowledge when people are like, oh, that game's pretty basic. I'm like, I agree, but I've played it so many I don't even score myself anymore because I play it because you can just play it solo a lot. The bonus about a lot of flipping out games, you can just score on yourself. So that's a good one. Cartographers, absolutely love. It's one we talked early in the days about possibly being an episode for Bards, but we have so many great games to talk about as a primary episode. Maybe I'll eventually get there. So my number 4 game,
five.
My number 5 game.
Yeah,
my number 5 game. Good.
I don't want you to miss a good one.
Yeah, my number 5 game is one we've never played, but I wanted to for sure before, and it's one my mom won. We played as well, and I just played it with Ananda and Hunter. It's called Herbaceous. I say you can do herbaceous without the H. I'm a Southerner, so sometimes it's herbaceous and sometimes it's herbaceous. Herbaceous is a set collection game that everybody has the same 4 goals in the game, and you're trying to get as many different herbs as possible, as many same herbs as possible in a set, and as many pairs of different herbs as possible. And there's one that's just 3 herbs. Oversimplifying it, but the key is the fun thing about this game is you have a deck of cards that are face down. You draw a card up, you look at it, and there's 7 different herbs. If you can keep that and it goes in your private garden, but then the next card automatically comes out and goes in the public garden for anybody. So it's a little push your luck, and I love that aspect of push your luck because you could then take a card. Instead, you could take the card, and if you don't like it, you put it in the public garden, and the next card is yours. Now everything's still public information. It still gets turned up so people know what's in your hand. And so it start become this very interesting thing of when do I go for all 6 cards? When do I go for 7 cards? Because the other fun thing about Herbaceous, what I like, one is that kind of push your luck. If I don't choose this one, I have to take the next one. But if I take this one, the next one goes public, is that when you make your sets, because you're going to make each of those sets once, you can take from both your public and the private garden. So if the cards have come out great in the public garden, boom, 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 I'm going to take all that. And you're taking those from someone else's ability to take from that public garden. Super light game from the same designer who did Floriferous, one of my favorite games where we're moving over and it's the columns of selecting the flowers and whatnot. Herbaceous, I don't play. It's another one of those that I don't play it a ton, but we brought it out because I know the art is beautiful on it and the idea of collecting herbs is really fun. So, like I said, it's one I play with my mom. I was looking back through it. I don't have a lot of plays lately, but I have a lot of plays in the early days of when I got Herbaceous. And this is another one that one of the times when we're together, we'll play it just so you can play the super light game that I just love. Herbaceous. Okay, now my number 4. This one, another cheat. I'm going to tell you, it's my list. I can cheat if I want to. It's basically, but it's more, and you understand when I say this, right? This is more closely tied than my number 6. Reminder, number 6 was Horrifying Pandemic. Very similar games are cooperative. My number 4 is Stella/Dixit. Pretty easy to kind of combine those together, even though they're slightly different games, because either one of them will work a very similar way. We've done episodes on it. We love both those games. Stella, I like the gamification of it a little bit more, right? You have these beautiful cards that come out. I'm still remembering our play of Zeus or Antiquity. Sorry. Oh, that's a deep cut there, right? Have these beautiful cards that come out, and then and then a single word in Stella. There's 12 cards, and then a single word comes out. Maybe the word like antiquity. We all have an understanding of what antiquity is. We don't define it at the table. We go off what we think it is. And then privately in front of us, we're marking all the cards we think you could describe as related to antiquity. Maybe it could be defined as antiquity or fulfill the concept of antiquity, right? And then the cool thing about this, beautiful art. I love that private selection. Then in turn order, you go around and say, okay, I think this card is an antiquity. And then if at least one person has it, then you score. If no one has it, now you're done scoring for that round. And you keep going till everyone has identified a card that no one else is scoring on. You can shoot the moon to go really high, but if you don't get everything, you could drop half your points. Super fun. I've played both Stella and Dixit with my mom because the art's easy and the general gameplay of Stella is insanely easy. You don't even got to give clues. Dixit can be a little intimidating at first because you got to give a clue. But Stella, you're just flipping over cards and marking something down, and that's it. And then you got to kind of choose which ones you think it is. So Stella, a Dixit University game, or Dixit. That's my number 4.
Yeah, I don't know. So we, for a little behind the scenes curtain peek, and when we do the show, we have show notes that are on a Google Doc. And I could see in Jason's eyes, he said, my number 4, they're a little closer. And before he said it, I had already started typing Dixit, because I was ready for it. So I'm with him. I think those are great choices. And the art on them, just gorgeous. We said it in our Dixit episode. I love Dixit because my nephew, when he was 6 or 7 years old, was able to play Dixit with us. And like that is the sign of a really fun game to me that you definitely can teach, and have some great memories. Like I will forever not believe in Brody Smith's intelligence because of Stella, and he will forever not believe in my intelligence because of Stella. So it goes both ways, but yeah. It is a great time. My number 4 is a game that we have not played together, and I'm fairly confident you've never played it, but it comes from one of my favorite whimsical productions, which is Unstable Games, and the game is Happy Little Dinosaurs. So these are the same people that make Unstable Unicorns. They make Casting Shadows that I talked about from my games I played recently. Here to Slay is another game of theirs, but Happy Little Dinosaurs, first off, definitely sounds like a game you're taking home to your mom. Just like on the name alone, she's going to have a great time. And the whole point of the game is that you are all these happy little dinosaurs, and you are trying to avoid disaster. Now, disaster can come in a multitude of ways. There are meteors that act as wild card disasters, because meteors, we know, don't get along with dinosaurs. You have physical disasters, like a lava lake appears. You have predatory disasters, like the saber-toothed tiger attacking the nest. And then you have emotional disasters, like a bad haircut on school picture day. And so what happens during the round is that everyone's going to have a hand of cards, almost like you're playing the classic card game War. You're going to have cards with numbers on them. And this disaster is going to appear. And whoever is the lowest level is going to take on that disaster. So they're going to take on that disaster. And as they take on that disaster, if you get one of each type of disaster, you go extinct. You're out. But you can also win the game by, if you are the highest point person, you get that many points and you can get to 50 points. So if you ever get to 50 points, you automatically win the game. And if you are the last dinosaur standing, because you have not become overcome by disasters, you also win the game. And now each of these numbers has like a special ability that it does. But like I talked about with Sushi Go Party, all of that information is on the card. So if I play a 6 out of 10, it's going to say on the card, if anyone played a 3, this bone hammer knocks those 3s out to 1s.
Okay.
So you play your 6 and you can put multiple people down to 1. And then now they're playing, if I am the lowest person, it's a catapult. And the catapult actually launches me to being tied with the highest number. So there's all these different things that you play. So it's got a lot of fun replayability. The art is super cute. It's super lightweight. The first time that I ever hung out with, from the disc golf world, the Overthrow crew, and our friend Jesse from Trash Panda in person, I brought this game. Mikey, not a gamer, definitely someone who does not want to have that feeling. And he played Happy Little Dinosaurs, had a great time with it. So love this game. It definitely doesn't hit the table as much as the other games in that production side for me, because it is on the lighter weight side. But if you just liken it to War, usually everyone's going to say, okay, I've got a good idea on how this works. So my number 3 game, Jason, is another one that it's not as crunchy. I don't think it's as crunchy as Everdell, but it was certainly one that we only played once, and we played it in neither of your game rooms. Okay. And it is Alhambra.
Yeah. Okay.
So Alhambra, you are building your own Alhambra. It's a tile laying game where you're going to lay these different colored tiles out on your own board, creating a giant, to borrow the title of Jason's number 4 or number 7, point salad. So you're going to build this structure out of tiles that are just super flat, and you're going to gather all these points. Now you can combo these pieces together. You can lay them in a certain way and get a lot of points. So very similar to a la cartographers, you get this beautiful satisfaction of I'm playing tiles, I'm building something, and the gamers get something out of it. So when you're teaching this, you're going to want to play this with your mom and with your family and the non-gamers, because it's not a super lightweight game, but it is easily understood. And from the cognitive load side, what I really enjoy about it is that it builds with you. You start with a couple tiles and you build out from there. So at the end of it, we're all looking around the board and it's like, wow, that's crazy that you were able to build that complex of a thing, Jason. Like, that's awesome. But your significant other, your mom, whoever, they're going to be able to say, yeah, I mean, I got to play the tiles and I put the blue ones all together and that got me points. And you're like, that's amazing. Let's go. So really love it. 4 tile layers. It's definitely up there and just like raw tile laying. Very fun. It's a classic for a reason. And I think that Alhambra definitely belongs on this list.
That's a good one. When I was just standing in my game room over the weekend looking at stuff, it crossed the path. And I think I realized I honed in so heavily on games I have played with my mom. I think there's only one game that on this list that I actually haven't played with my mom, right? So I think I got too myopically focused on it but that is a great one. That's another one that I wish I took off this shelf more, because it is that tile laying game and it has some fun economy in it, but the game plays pretty easy. But you're building something, right? And you're growing something. And like you said, you hit the nail on the head. There's something fun about tile laying games, especially when you're doing your own one. Carcassonne is a different kind of fun, but you're all building the same one. Whereas in oh my gosh, Cascadia or Alhambra, you're building your own, and there's some excitement about having your own thing there and seeing how I can manipulate my growth there. So that's, you're not surprised. I like that one. So that's a good choice. So, my number 3, in that same world of classic games, Alhambra is like 2 or 3 levels down on classic games, but hardcore gamers know it as a classic game for sure, because it's been around a while. My number 3 is, I think, one of the first games my mom bought. She still owns this game to this day, and she actually owns 2 of the 3 versions I own, and that's Ticket to Ride. So Ticket to Ride, the main game's the easiest one for sure, but Ticket to Ride Europe's only a little bit more tough, and Ticket to Ride Maryland, which isn't in production anymore, is my 3rd one. But Ticket to Ride is just we've talked about it. People who play Ticket to Ride know how easy and how light the gameplay is. I'm either going to draw cards or I'm going to turn cards in and put trains out there. Yeah, it can get a little tough. It can be a little cutthroat if people are trying to block you. But the gist of the game is you are also creating something. Going back to creating something, you're creating this fun little track on your board, right? And you have a little push your luck. How long do I keep searching for blacks until I just use my wilds? How do I go for blacks or reds? Is Robbie to my right, who pulls before me every time, keep pulling the color I need? Do I need a pivot, right? So it has that level of crunchiness, but it also is just a fun game to play because you're building something on there. We could debate, and I would not argue people that debate the replayability of it at some point. I've replayed it a ton, and we have this conversation often, right? Of the big 3, Ticket to Ride will always be my big of the big 3. And I can't imagine a version of it not leaving my top 10. This is competing with my biggies. Like, I just love Ticket to Ride, the system, so much that it'll always be in my top 10 because I just like it so much. Our opinion on Settlers is pretty well known. And whereas Carcassonne is just fine. I know it's higher on your list for sure, but, Ticket to Ride, easy one. There's Ticket to Ride, the smaller ones, like Ticket to Ride New York and Ticket to Ride London, if you want a more basic game to show folks for that. And even as you start teaching your kids, there's Ticket to Ride, my first Ticket to Ride, Ticket to Ride First Journey. All-time classic for a reason. I've played this game multiple times with my mom. It's still sitting on her shelf at her house when she bought it herself. So it was a no-brainer to put Ticket to Ride on.
Yeah, that's Ticket to Ride is one that, I took and I taught to my mother-in-law, and they have their copy, and I know that, like, hey, I will happily play this game whenever they want to play. And yeah, she worked through it and picked it up and very much enjoys it. So I think it's a great, it made my honorable mentions for that exact reason. I think it's a great choice.
Cool. My number 2, we have played this game together. It's my last party game, but it is the only game on this list that I have not played a version of it with my mom. So again, I myopically focused on the games I played with my mom, really. And it's because it's a newer game and I haven't actually seen her since I got this game. And it's called, the Japanese version for my special friends is called Nana, but for everyone else it's called Trio. Trio, we've talked about. We just played it, 3 games of it the other night. I think Dakota and Marissa were kind of like, we finished our games till 9. They were kind of getting ready to go. I'm like, hey, do you want to try Trio? We're like, sure. And played a few hands of it, right? Because they were kind of, because it was later in the night and they're kind of ready to go. They want to go home and go to sleep. But they actually like, no, Marissa's like, can we run it again? I'm like, I love it when Marissa, who Marissa can handle games, but between the 4 of us is the least of the gamer. And I don't mean that as a derogatory by any stretch of imagination, right? But Marissa, when she says she wants to run it again, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a good game for sure. So Trio, is, memory/go fish. And when you hear that, it sounds like, really, Jason, you think Trio is an amazing game? And almost every reviewer says the same thing. Like when I heard that, I thought it was horrible. When I played it, it's just fun. Like it's just fun because it is the gist of Trio is that you're trying to complete sets, three of each number 1 through 12. So you're trying to get 3 sets of 3, and there's some other game winning conditions. So if you get 3 sets of 3 cards, each of these 3 are the same, you win the game. A couple of variations of that. But your option is you only have 3 options. You can ask any single player what their highest card is. That's one option. You can ask any single player what their lowest card is, and they have to show it. Or you can turn over a card that's on face down on the table. Depending on the number of players dictates the number of cards that are on the table. And that's it. The key is if I ask Robbie what his highest card is and he shows 11, then I ask Elizabeth what her highest card is and she shows a 12, well then my turn's over because I'm trying to get 3, right? On my turn, if I can get 12, 12, and 12, well then I just got one of my sets and I'm done. And it goes on to the next person. So the moment you don't have 2 cards that are the same, your turn's over. So the turns are pretty quick, but you would be shocked how quickly you forget who has what. And the first few nights, the first night we ever played this, I've talked about this on the podcast. First night we played it, we played like 5 games in a row. Me, Elizabeth, Ryder, Hannah, and Will. And it was just so funny. We had so much fun. And that was with my Japanese import copy that my family brought from Japan. And that night I had to go order the regular games. I knew I was going to be routinely playing those other folks. But like I said on the episode, you are a special person if you get to play with Nana.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not special when you play with Trio, but the Nana's reserved for only every once in a while. Right.
Yeah.
And it's up on the shelf right there. So, but it's so much fun. You forget what it is. We've told the story multiple times. The first night we played, there was a game where like literally, I think the same card got showed 3 times, turned over 3 times in a row because we kept forgetting what was there. And they thought I was doing a bit when I turned it over. They actually thought I was just kind of being funny. And I was like, no, I already forgot. We literally just turned it over because you're thinking about what everybody else has. I remember as soon as we played it, I told Brad got a copy and his family loves it as well. Cause you can just play it and play it and play it. And we played it at Imposter Night or the big game night when you were here. It was summer. It was a big hit over that table. Trio, I cannot emphasize enough. There's very few games that I say that Just One is a game I say you should own if you want to buy some games. Just One is such a great game. Green Team Wins is kind of there. Trio's pretty high there with the right group. You need 4 or 5 people to have fun. I think it only goes to 5 anyway. 3 is a little light. It may go to 6. So, but if you're playing with 3, that's too many, but you need 4 or 5 people. I mean, it's just so much fun because you start realizing how, I forgot what that is, or I forgot what they had. And so much fun. I can't wait to play it because we just got it this summer. I'm looking forward to playing it when Christopher and Mania Wright comes into town this year because we're going to have a blast. That will be our game that we would start playing 3 or 4 or 5 times a night to kind of close out the night, just to end the night laughing because we're going to forget stuff like that. And Dakota was spot on. He was hitting, I think he won 2 of the 3 times we played because it was just, he was remembering everything and laser focused. So much fun. Trio is my number 2.
Yeah. Any memory based game sounds like you're going back to your childhood, and then you start playing it and you're just like, oh yeah, this is it's the same thing when we explain That's Not a Hat to people. You're like, yeah, you just
yes
like, oh, yes. I have a duck in front of me. And you're like, so you're telling me all I got to do is just remember that I have a duck in front of me? And I'm like, mm-hmm. And they're like, okay. And then the cards will move around the other side of the circle and it gets to them and they're like, I have a cup in front of me. Where was it? And the best part about the memory games is that the more rounds you play back to back, the games just merge in your head. And so you're like, oh yeah, no, Elizabeth has the 11 in her hand. Awesome. And it was like, no, that was from 2 games ago. What am I doing? So yeah, Trio's a great time. I very much. And also, like, I will say, like, Jason's youngest, Ryder, is just a super intelligent human being. Like, he's just so smart. And when he chuckles during a board game, I always get nervous because I'm like, he sees something that I don't see. Like, he's laughing because he has gone to another plane of like intelligence, and he just realizes that none of us are there with him. Like, here we go. And like, cause you'll see that chuckle with him when you play. And I remember that was my favorite part about playing Trio with Jason's family is Ryder just genuinely laughing while playing the game because it's just that good of a time. So totally. Trio should be a game you own. It's incredible. My number 2 actually comes from the same universe, and it is the 3rd installment of Jason's number 4, and mine is Mysterium. Because Mysterium is a cooperative game. It's the only cooperative game on my list, and I think when people see Mysterium, they like. The way I explain Mysterium is you're inside the Dixit universe. So you have these beautiful cards that Jason described earlier, but you're playing Clue in reverse. So one person is the ghost, and a bunch of people show up trying to figure out what happened to the ghost. So there are this whole selection of rooms. There's a whole selection of characters, and there's a whole selection of murder weapons. And tied to each person is a story that has a person, a place, in a room. And what the clue giver is going to do is they're going to give clues to each player each round that have to do to try to point them to their person, place, or item. So what's really great about this is that you, the person bringing this, you are the experienced gamer. That's all. Like, that is the only necessity for this game. You just need one person to be able to run the game, because from there, I'm just simply going to be giving clues out. And every time that I've run this, I think I've only actually been not the ghost one time ever playing this game, because I'm always just teaching it to person after person.
Yeah.
It's cooperative, which to some people is going to push them off of it. But there's an element inside of it where you can bet on whether you think people are right or wrong, because at the end of the time, they're going to put their marker on what part of the category they're currently trying to figure out on what they think is correct. So it'll be like, oh, in this clue card that Jason gave me, there is a astronaut sinking to the bottom of the ocean. Okay, awesome. Well, in the room, one of the rooms is nautical. Awesome. Okay. But one of the rooms is a bathroom. Am I supposed to be paying attention to the sea aspect of this, or am I supposed to be paying attention to the water? Like, cause that was maybe the only card he had that had water on it.
The colors, right? Like, and the clue giver can't be like, here's a really pretty blue card. Right.
Like, you just have to figure it out. And so I decide I'm going bathroom because I think it's just the blue and the water. Okay, awesome. But then everyone else at the table is like, you're so dumb, Robbie. Why would you do that? So they all vote that I'm wrong. Awesome. That, like, them betting that I'm wrong actually gains them advantage and gains us all overall advantage in the game as well. So, like, even when you're off, it still works out in favor. So there's some jokes that can go back and forth. It's a really fun time. I really love Mysterium. It is without a doubt my favorite co-op game probably ever.
Yeah, it is. What's funny is I always forget that that's a cooperative game, even though it's 100% a cooperative game, because Ghost and the other players, but I when I talk about my all-time favorite, I forget about Mysterium. I don't even have any plays of it in BG stats, even though we played it a number of times. We played it over Christmas this last year because I can't remember. I think Danielle had some friends who had it. I want to do it, and I was the Ghost. Like I said, being the Ghost is fun, but it's also tough. It's very tough to have to give the clues. We had some really hard, like, because you're still randomly drawing cards, and you're like, to your point was like bottom of the ocean, toilet, whatever. Like, I'm like, I'm giving you the best I can give you. Like, because as a ghost, you can't talk. You're just laying out cards, and they're trying to decipher as a corporeal spirit who can't make noise what they're trying to do. But it is so good. And even Ananda and Hunter own Mysterium. So we, at the end of the night, we're like, hey, just look through our thing and see if there's any games you want to play the next time we get together. The first one was like Dinosaur Island. I'm like, we can do Dinosaur Island. Just you got to buckle up for 3 hours, like at least 3 hours, because it's just I got to teach it. The teach alone is 30 minutes, right? It's just so long. Love it. My all-time favorite. 100% will do it. But you got to come in knowing it's going to be a 3-hour game night, right? We're going to eat while we play as opposed to eat first, then come play. Totally good with that. But another game they mentioned was Mysterium, because they own Mysterium but have never played it. And I'm like, oh, absolutely, because it's not a 2-player game. It's really best at 4 or more. You can play it at 3, but it's tough. But it's really meant to be a 4 or 5-player game, maybe up to 6 players. I think you can do it. And so it's kind of odd and quirky at first if you've never done it to run the ghost. And so that's why I tell them, I said, we'll absolutely play it, but I'll just be the ghost, right? Because it helps God run the ghost enough. I think I can do it. And that way Elizabeth can help drive y'all as y'all talk through the scenarios, because she's very good at talking through that stuff. So we're going to hopefully on a future game night play Mysterium to show them how to play their game, because it is super fun. It even has a fun soundtrack you can find on the internet. Kind of turn the lights down a little bit if you want to have, not to be creepy, but just kind of like get into kind of the ambiance.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, we had 2 couples that we did game nights with for a while, and we did one with them, and I've got a hilarious picture of my perspective to them because they're all gathered around the photos, and they have a hilarious perspective of me when the timer's on for me, like trying to figure out how to get them, the clues and everything. So it's a good time. Mysterium, always going to be up there for me. But my number 1 is a game that I love the theme. I love the vibe of it. And 100%, it checks off every box for me in terms of teaching. And it is Takenoko. So Takenoko, the idea of Takenoko is that there's this little panda, and it is in a bamboo forest going around trying to eat bamboo. And there are private scoring goals that you're achieving throughout the time. And those private scoring goals come in 3 different categories. 1 is bamboo stalks being grown. 1 is bamboo being eaten by the panda. And then the other is growing the bamboo forest in strategic patterns for the like bamboo field. So on your turn, you're going to do 2 actions. Those 2 actions will be one of, I think it's 3 or 4 things. You're either going to draw tiles and grow the forest. You're going to, I think it's 4 things. Yeah, you're going to draw tiles and grow the forest. You're going to move the panda somewhere, and that panda, when it arrives, is going to eat bamboo. You're going to move the farmer. It's going to grow bamboo, or you're going to select more cards for more private scoring goals. And that's the game. You're going to keep going and doing this until one player has completed a certain amount of scoring goals that changes based on player count. Super fun. The pieces in the production are beautiful because there's this cute little panda that you're moving around. So it's very fun. The colors are so vibrant and super fun. And then the bamboo pieces, I think, are actually the most fun part of it. They're these little wood pieces that lock in on one another. And so when you place a new forest piece, the 5th action is you can irrigate. Forgot about that. I was like, there's one more that I was forgetting. Because you have to grow water to your bamboo forest in order for bamboo to grow there. So you, like, these little wood pieces stack up to 4 and they just rest on one another. So when the panda moves there, you just take a little piece off and store it on your board. And then when you've eaten the right amount of bamboo, you flip over your card and you reveal, hey, I just scored 9 points because I ate 3 pink bamboo pieces. Awesome. But I can't eat bamboo pieces if I'm not growing bamboo. I can't grow bamboo if someone else is moving the panda around eating all my stuff. And you can see that like, oh, Jason just has 5 panda scoring cards. Okay, awesome. I don't need to go for farmer goals right now because Jason's never going to let me get there. It's like, this is not going to happen. So, that is it's such a fun, easy thing. And then the cognitive load side that I think is really beautiful about it is that it starts so simple.
Yeah.
Like it's very small. The board is very simple. And so it grows into this complex board. So when you sit down, all your mom's going to see is this cute little panda, this funny looking farmer, and some colorful tiles. And that's it. And then you're off to the races. So I love Takenoko. It is one that Lindsay and I have played. I mean, we probably have 30 or 40 games of Takenoko played across our marriage. Love it. It is one that we can sit down and we'll just play a couple games. Like we will actually just play a couple games back to back because it's a blast. So Takenoko.
That's a game. I mean, right. We got that game from tabletop as well, right? Didn't Will and the crew do it on tabletop? Because we owned it for a long time. Played it a ton as well, and it is just cute. It's fun. It's for the amount of pieces you got. It was just fun to have that tactile nature. And of course, we'd always remember, okay, here's that messed up piece that won't actually stick together, or here's the second one that doesn't actually stick together. I don't want that one. That always goes on top because nothing can go on top of it, right? You just routinely get those pieces out. Played it a ton, and then at some point when I first super went deep during COVID, I was selling a ton of games. At that point, Takenoko wasn't in print. It's since been reprinted, like in 23 or 24, but in 22, 21, 20, it wasn't in print. So it was like worth a lot of money. And I'm like, I had this rotator, like a revolving door of I was selling and buying games. The good thing is, everything you said about it's great. It's an awesome game. I'd always love to play it, but I don't regret for a second getting rid of it because I've played it so much. But if I was ever someplace and somebody want to play Takenoko, I'm like, absolutely. I would love to come out and play that. And we even had we had one expansion for the game. I can't even when you're talking about how it's played, I'm like, kind of remember it. And I've played on BGA a couple of times. Even on that, I'm like, okay, I gotta remember how to play this game. But we played it a ton as well. 15, 20 times because we loved it, got it from tabletop, had it for years. And it's so great. The art's cute. It's fun because it's the way because the scoring goals are so fun because it's the number of bamboo that it's going to eat or the way it's laid out or the way the tiles are. And it can get super crunchy for sure because you're trying to work out, I need to move it there to irrigate these 3 ones. Oh no, that's one too many. So now I got to move it there to eat one of those so I can now get to match that set. So definitely a good choice. Definitely a fun one. And I just it's out of sight, out of mind, but it's always, the good thing is, those memories come back. They're like, oh, I have nothing but happy memories about Takenoko. So it's definitely a good choice. My number one choice is the most, number one will shock you, right? I will say, I'll step back. It's my most crunchy game for certain. But when I look at the list, it is your games overall are actually more quote unquote crunchy than mine as a whole. None of them are super, other than Everdale, super heavy, but there's enough little cognitive load on there that it's on there, which is funny because you think it'd be the opposite because I go hardcore with super crunchy and not too light. But I guess again, I focus in on what I have actually played with my mom, but that's why we have 2 different lists, right? It goes straight on. We're going to keep up with having absolutely no crossovers because this was not on your list. So at least our top 10s you get 20 different games you heard about
for a first time.
That's pretty impressive for sure. So my number one is actually the first game we played with Robbie. I think it was the first game or the second game. I think it was the first game of that, and that's Calico. I knew Calico was going to go right to the top from the moment I thought about this list, or one moment we agreed on this one being the list. I played it with my mom. So much fun. Like we covered an episode. So the key is the gameplay of, like, I love to foot stomp simple gameplay. Calico, you put a piece on your dual layer board. No restrictions for that placement. You can place wherever you want. Then you draw another one and you have 2 in your hand. Your next turn, all you're going to do is put a piece on your board and draw one. And so the entire game is literally just playing a tile and pulling it up. You could argue that gameplay of Cascadia is a little heavier because I'm putting a piece out, but I got to make sure my animal can match where it wants to go. So you could even argue the gameplay of Cascadia, which is super light, is actually heavier than Calico. Gameplay so light, so easy. Beautiful art. You're creating this quilt. Super pretty. The patterns are very fun. But to score well, it can hurt your brain, right? So I fully acknowledge, as we talked about many times, Calico can definitely hurt your brain if you're trying super hard to score and match those things, match the patterns or match the colors or match the way that everything is set up, match the way the cats are. Love Calico, played it with, I bought Calico. I think I said this on, there's actually ironically bought Calico in Lynchburg on a visit. It was either CFA or dropping the key. I think we were dropping Xander off many years ago for his freshman year. We went to the local game cafe and bought Calico there. And on the way home, I guess this is when we dropped Hannah, me, Ryder, and Elizabeth played it in the hotel room. And this has nothing to do with anything else. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. I relate experiences, and we had like takeout. We had like pizza or something, and there's literally like a little marinara stain on my bag in Calico from that night. It's very funny. Anyway, I appreciate you guys listening to me and humor me as I go down memory lane. Calico, while very crunchy, I will never argue against this. Like, you could even easily argue that even though the gameplay is light, the crunchiness is heavier than Everdell, even though Everdell has a lot of different things, right? Because it's really hard to score really well on Calico because you have to think through so many things on so many levels. But the gameplay is so easy. Thick, chunky pieces, fun design on those. Played with my mom, and my mom, thankfully, is one who will just play the game. Right. She's not overthinking. She's not worried. I mean, she's trying. She's not doing it and not trying. But she sits down and plays the game. I always appreciate that. Ananda and Hunter, each time they play, that they don't get too worried and they just take actions. I'm like, guys, you will always be welcome at my table because you don't worry too much about, I may get blown out by 20 points, but it's okay because the next time I play, I'll know what to do. I try to foot stomp that with new players. Just take some actions. And if you lose, it's okay. We're not going to remember, and we're not going to make fun of you in 2 nights, right? The good thing about my mom, she's good with doing those things. And Calico is definitely a game that I needed her to be easy breezy on. That's my number one, Calico.
Yeah. It's, Jason nailed it. Like, it is as crunchy as you want it to be, which is, I think, a really good sign of a great game because, yeah, like, if you want to grok it out, go for it. And if you want to have a good time, you can just, lay tiles out there and see how the points fall. Very similar to not Mosaic. What is the game? Canvas, that you talked about last week.
Yep.
Or last episode, where you can just make a pretty picture. It may not score well, but hey, you still made a pretty quilt, which is really fantastic. So that is going to wrap it up for our list, guys. A little long episode for you guys, but hey, it's always fun. You got to enjoy a list, and that's a first, ladies and gentlemen. It's our first time of 20 unique games. Incredible. So I'm still chuckling about Suro. That's incredible.
What are the odds?
What are the odds? About this game before. Yeah. Oh, it's there. So, fantastic. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Jason, any final thoughts as we wrap it up?
No, appreciate it. If you guys listen to this point, we truly appreciate it. I have fun with top 10 lists because, like I said at the beginning, I just get to talk about a bunch of different games, which is just always fun to do. So, appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah. Absolutely. So appreciate y'all. We hope you have a fantastic one, and we'll see you in the next few weeks for episode 51.